Hello again. I'm here in Brazil with Ken O'Donnell, who has worked for over 40 years as a management and organizational development consultant and lives and serves in the meditation centers here in Brazil and around the world with the Brahma Kumaris. Today's topic, I'd really like to talk to you, Ken, about polarities at an individual and a nation or world level, maybe starting with the individual. When a person is in a situation and they feel, opposing forces coming at them, either in terms of insults, accusations, defamation, it's a micro level version of that same energy in a world scale. But I'd like to understand at the individual level, how do we work with that sort of from the inside out with that perspective?
It is true that the dynamics within an individual, also within the world, are actually because of the polarities. So at an individual level, you have the two sides. The good and the bad, and actually it's the light and the not light, because darkness is just the absence of light. So there are two basic consciousnesses which form polarities within us. One, you could call it the spiritual consciousness. I am the soul, I am this spiritual being going through this human experience and not a human being looking for a spiritual experience. That I am this spiritual being, and when I'm in that consciousness, it attracts like things. In electricity, the same energies repel each other. Like you got two positives, they'll repel each other. But on the metaphysical level, the soul level, the spiritual level, you've got like things attract like. So you can imagine within yourself, it's like two magnets. One which is like the truth, your light, your original characteristics of love, peace, happiness, and so on. They form one pole. And then you have something which sort of, it's been our experience over time, that we've developed a whole darkness side, you could say. But since darkness is just the absence of light, but it's true there is a sort of a conflict going on in each soul. It's between what is right and what is true, and what is not right and what's not true. They sort of fight it out. So when I'm in a sort of a fake, limited consciousness, I am so-and-so, I did this and I did that, and why don't they listen to me? I'm the important one here. I'm the one that's had the most experience. How come they don't? How come people don't? How come situations don't? So I'm in that consciousness. I'm actually pulling the things that I'd like to avoid. But if I go to the other side, my other pole, in which I'm the spiritual being, I'm the soul, I am God's child, I'm here, this whole world is just a big field of action, and the best sort of actions are serving others and being useful. If I'm in that sort of consciousness, I'm actually attracting the things that would support that. Mm-hmm. So we alternate between being alert, being attentive, being in that sort of consciousness, and then we forget it. It's all about forgetting and remembering. I remember, I start to attract good things. I forget, I start to attract all of the things that are related to being in a forgetful state. And of course, it's like half of us is fighting it out with the other half of us. So within me, I have the characteristics of heaven and also the characteristics of hell. So my hell and my heaven sort of battle it out. But in all of the good stories, the hero wins in the end. The good guy wins. So I am the good guy. I'm the spiritual being. I'm God's child. I will win. But if I lose sight of that, and then you start to see yourself, I'm in not a great state of consciousness. I start to attract all sorts of things that support my not so great state of consciousness. Mm-hmm. And they sort of reaffirm that I have no worth, I have no value, no one loves me, no one cares, that sort of thing. And of course, if you're in that state, it's like you're wearing a t-shirt that says, I don't care about myself, so world, you don't need to care about me either. Mm-hmm.
So interesting that we could have heaven and hell inside ourselves and they're just battling it out. So most of us are spending our time and energy kind of locked in this inner battle, but maybe we don't notice that because we're just noticing the external coming at me in a negative way. And then I'm thinking it's about them and not about this battle inside of me. But when you're in that battle and you are feeling that you are bad somehow or not worthy to be respected, and then you get sad and down, it's like a little toxic soup of feelings and emotions going around in the gut. What does one do at that point to remember the positive side? Because remembering can be quite an intellectual thing. Okay, I know I'm this, but I'm sure not feeling it in this moment. How does one translate that understanding into feeling?
I have to be aware of the process also. I have to be aware of the process. I was once with, just before the World Cup of Soccer that happened in Brazil in 2014. And of course, it's the biggest sporting event of the year, every 4 years actually. And so it has more viewers than the Olympics, for example. And Brazil was obviously pretty worried. And at that time, was doing some work for the airport authority. And they had to fix up 10 airports to receive everyone. And they were hopelessly behind time, you know. There was only one airport finished. It was 6 months before the beginning of the games. Only one of the airports was finished. So they were absolutely tearing their hair out in stress. And I asked them, and this was one part of the airport authority in the northeast of the country, I asked these executive people, what's the busiest airport in Brazil? And they said, there's the Sao Paulo domestic terminal. I said, really? And they said, yeah, the peak out has a flight every 90 seconds, every 2 minutes. Really, you know, you don't want to go to that airport Friday night after a week of work, right? Anyway, I said, look, our minds are like airports. Things come in and things take off. So you've got planes landing, you've got planes taking off. And of course, it's a mess, generally. I said, how many flights do you think we have in a day in the Maya mental airport? So, because there are 1,440 minutes in 24 hours. So, let's say we're awake for 1,000 minutes. And you have something landing or taking off every second. How many is that? 60,000. And if you've got a more fractured mind, let's say something happening every half second, it's 120,000 things. So how much of that is actually useful? I asked them. And actually, I don't know how you calculate it, but I estimate, let's say 3 or 4% is actually useful. That means of the 60,000 or 120,000, it's like, what, 3,000 or 4,000. So we need to learn to think less and to think better. So that's where it starts. So I'm thinking, I'm making things land, I'm making things take off in the airport of my own mind. I can be the flight controller. I can determine, you don't land here we've got the runway open for special flights, special things. You're not going to land here. You have to go somewhere else. So I have to start exercising some sort of control. What is worth thinking? What is not worth thinking? How much is just my own perception? How much is real? How much is real about what I think? Because if whatever I think about someone, what's the population of your head? How many people live in your head? Quite a few. So if you start to pay attention, let people come to your mind, but don't let them come with all of your stuff. This is a difficult person, this is a terrible person, this is a dishonest person, this is not such a good person, I'm not even sure about this other one. And so we're thinking about people, but it's like we've got a gallery of people in our head, and underneath each picture we've got our own captions. This is so-and-so, he's difficult, this is so-and-so, she's a liar, this one here is irresponsible. I have to visit my gallery and take away all of the captions and let others live in their own right and be whatever they are. So I have to start paying attention to what I think and how I think, and ask myself this question: is this real? Is this more connected with light, or this is more connected with darkness? Is this helping me or hindering me? Is this useful or not useful? So I have to start to do that sort of work internally. And as things come up, and if you practice this, then you can start to think less and think better, and then you start to have a sort of an airport that's pretty peaceful.
That's wonderful. So it's like I become my own air traffic controller, and have fewer flights in and out, and fewer that stay in my mind. I like this idea that you erase the label underneath the picture. So the person or the situation may come into my mind, but I don't have to add the emotional component, which is essentially what the label is.
Yeah.
Any judgment on my part is that label, but that judgment is what provokes a gut reaction, a feeling inside of me. I could just practice being more neutral or catch myself when the label emerges.
Yeah, for example, what I think about you is not you. So my you is not you. Your me is not me.
Right.
So I am talking to my you, and you're talking to your me, and it's miscommunication.
Right, because I can never have the full picture of you. I have only my experience of you.
Yeah.
Which is quite limited.
Yeah. Let's say you meet someone, and he's having the worst afternoon of his life. And he really treats you badly, but you've only seen him once. But he left such a bad impression. And then the next time, that guy so-and-so, that terrible person who, and if someone else, did you meet so-and-so? Yeah, he's a terrible person. So actually you just met him at the wrong moment.
Right.
He's having the only time in his whole life that he's lied. It's the only time in his whole life that he's been irresponsible. We have to be more real with ourselves and with other people.
Right.
Because I'm not my reputation. Yeah, so you're living in a world where people are walking reputations, and they're interacting on the basis of that. So it's really strange. So that's why in meditation, I need to pull myself back to a state where I can be completely objective, allowing people to be whatever they are, whoever they are. And that's it. There's a great story. I like the Zen stories. One Buddhist monk in Japan, he decided to visit another monastery in China, to see how the Chinese Buddhists doing it. And he went there and he was, he spent 5 years in silence, basically, meditating. So when he came back to his monastery in Japan, they asked him, how was your experience? And he looked at them, he said, I've learnt that noses are vertical and eyes are horizontal. That's it. He didn't even bother to answer. Yes, noses are vertical and eyes are horizontal. And they insisted, and all he did was make the sign of, the cross, going across with one hand and going down from top to bottom with the other. What it means is that things are as they are.
But in the realm of our inner thoughts and emotions, things are not what they appear to us in that moment, because we've colored them with ourselves.
Right.
Or with our dark side.
With our dark side, with our projection. What is it? A projection is a sort of an attempt to defend yourself.
Yes.
So you defend a sort of a wrong feeling by projecting it. I'm feeling bad because so and so is like this.
Right.
Or so and so is. Why do they do it always like that? Could be that they only do that with me.
Yeah.
So with anyone else they don't do. So I need to train it's real training
Yeah.
to remove labels and to allow noses to be vertical and eyes to be horizontal. Just let things be as they are and let me appreciate. Because if let's say you're living with 4 people, right? How many houses are there?
4?
There's your house, your husband's house, your children's house, but there is the house as it is without anyone's opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 5 houses. So I have to see the 5 houses in this case, or the 3 or the 10, however many that you're sharing a space with. Because the importance is what you give to a place and what you give to others is personal, is subjective. And so, anything like that. You go to a place, you have a terrible experience, and someone asks, what's it like to visit Sydney? But in Sydney, nothing worked, you lost your baggage, the people at the hotel just treated you badly, it was raining the whole time you were there, and then you say, so how was your visit to Sydney? Terrible. So what a horrible place,
Instead of my visit was horrible.
Yeah, that's it.
Instead we say the place is horrible.
That's right.
Right. Okay, I get it. So my experience of another person who might be insulting me or coming at me is my experience somehow based on my negative side being triggered.
That's it.
And then my claiming it is them. And their negative side might be triggered by my negative side, and there we are in the darkness together, trying to see clearly what's what, but we can't see anything.
Have you been to Hungary?
Yes.
Do you understand Hungarian?
Not a word.
Can you read it?
Not a word.
Yes, you can.
I can?
Because it's written in Roman writing. It's like A, B's and C's and...
Oh.
Right?
Well, maybe I didn't try.
No,
Yeah.
Well, you can read the letters.
Yeah.
Because they're written in Roman script.
Right.
But you don't understand a thing.
Not a thing.
So, if you respond to something, it's because let's say the bad thing is Hungarian. Hope no Hungarians are listening to this.
No.
So, or, because you speak Hungarian, you interact with it, you relate to it, you think about it.
Yeah.
But if you don't understand that language, it just goes in one ear and out the other. Because we understand lust and anger and greed and attachment and all of these darker things, because we understand that, we can see them. We can interact with them. We can think about them because I speak that language. I speak the language of anger. I speak the language of lust. I speak the language of ego. I can figure it out, But if it was a completely,
unknown language to me,
I wouldn't react. I wouldn't interact. So
I'll be neutral.
I'd be neutral. I don't know, there's a big sign saying, beware, there's a horrible dog in here, it's going to attack you, and you don't even notice it. You don't even think about it. You don't wake up your fear of dogs.
And you walk by peacefully, and
You walk by peacefully,
and the dog says nothing.
The dog doesn't do anything.
Right.
So it's because we're familiar with things that we interact with them.
Okay, I want to thank you, Ken. Thank you for that. That's very, very insightful and gives a key to managing myself in such a way that I'm not attracting the darkness in others or projecting.
Yeah, if I don't speak darkness, I won't see darkness.
Thank you.